Let's get paid, y'all. Live dogs in the mix.
What's going on, people? UFC Fight Night Kansas City is upon us. We've got some pretty good fights on this card. In fact, I think it's a phenomenal card for a fight night. Main event is hot. We got some closely contested battles on here. Even the chick fights aren't too bad. Last week we did pretty good, but we did miss our live dog of the week. Once again, for the first time, we are on a losing streak. We are 2-0. So I've really got to, if this was the old days in the UFC, I don't win this one, I'm cut. So I'm really working hard to get something good in that regard. And I do see a couple on here. So without further ado, let's buzz it wide open. First fight of the night is going to be Chelsea Chandler versus Jocelyn Edwards. I do think Chandler's live in this. She opened up as a pretty big dog, but now she is about 165. But the problem with Chelsea Chandler is she only wins when she can use her size, and she misses weight all the time. But so does Edwards. They're both big girls that should be fighting at 145. But without that size advantage and not being a better striker, I do think Edwards will beat her. Then we have Timby Kuamba versus Roberto Romero. I think that at plus 100, Timothy Kuamba is a pretty good dog pick here, because I think this is kind of a 50-50 fight. But I see a little more tenacity, a little more intensity, a little more will to win, and a little more meanness out there, when I see Romero. So I think Romero should win, and I'm going to take him. Jacqueline Amorim versus Polyana Viana. Polyana Viana, despite looking really good, physically does not really look good anywhere else as far as her skill set. I don't think she takes fighting very seriously. And unfortunately for her, I think Amorim does. And I think Jacqueline Amorim is going to be the winner here, and I see a submission. Cameron Simon versus Malcolm Wellmaker. I was really big on Cameron Simon, but looking back at his wins in the UFC, those guys are no longer even in the promotion. I think I overrated him a little bit. That being said, he's only just turned 24. He's super young. I still believe in this kid. I still think he's going to do great things, and I think he's got a long time to get there. Wellmaker's 29 or 30 and has been putting his time in. He's got a decent amount of amateur fights. Let me see how many we've got here. Too many to count. So yeah, I was right. He's got a lot of amateur fights, and that's really where he cut his teeth. So he might be 8-0, but he's actually probably a little more experienced than Cameron Simon. He's in that perfect age where he's going to hit his prime. I don't know a whole lot about if his wrestling is going to hold up, because Cameron Simon is well-rounded, and that's why I like him so much. If he fights a smart game plan, I think he's in this fight. He is the underdog, so you may want to look into that. But for me, I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to take Wellmaker. I need Cameron Simon to win fights like this before I can start hopping back on the Cameron Simon train. So that's it. Damon Blackshear versus Alatang Halei. Alatang Halei is game. But I think Damon Blackshear is on a roll right now. He looked really good in his last fight. I don't see why he can't do the same thing he did to Gibson, who looked pretty good in that fight, to be honest. I think whatever he did to Gibson, he should be able to do here. So I'll take Damon Blackshear. Chris Gutierrez versus John Castaneda. I went back and forth on this. I really think this is a 50-50 fight, probably one of the closest fights on the card. And when it's that close, as down as I've been on Castaneda, Chris Gutierrez, I don't know. I think that this is such an even fight, man. It's so hard. But for me, I will take Castaneda. And the reason I'm going to take Castaneda is because I think he has shown that his wrestling is good, which gives him an advantage that Gutierrez is not going to have on him. I don't think he can out-wrestle Castaneda, and the striking should be even. Problem with Castaneda for me, though, is that he doesn't throw enough volume. At least I'm just going off my head, y'all. This is my first look at the card. Maybe I'm wrong, but when I'm thinking back at his fights, I really wish that there was more urgency. And Chris Gutierrez has that urgency in his fights a lot more than Castaneda. But Castaneda is just a little bit better everywhere and a good amount better in the wrestling. And I think with him being a plus 100 underdog, I'm going to go for the underdog on this one. So my pick will be Castaneda, but regardless, if you're betting a 50-50 fight and one fighter is plus 100, plus 120, you should be putting your money on him. So if I'm going to put my money on him, I should make him my pick. And that's what I'm going to do. Ahmed Hassanzada. He's from the Dana White's Contender Series. Looked okay. Didn't really blow me away. He's all right. I just think Evan Elder is a little bit slept on. I think Evan Elder will be able to hurt him on the feet because Ahmed looked a little hittable. He hasn't fought competition that Evan Elder has. And I think Evan Elder should be able to get a pretty good win here. I could even see him getting a finish maybe in the second round. I'll take Evan Elder. Speaking of 50-50 fights like I was talking about earlier, it's sad that we've come to this. Jimmy Flick and Matt Schnell. It's sad because Matt Schnell at one point was on a 4-fight win streak. Me being from Louisiana, I always liked Matt Schnell and root for him. But I really think he's fallen off. And Jimmy Flick, I think he's mentally had some issues. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I feel like Jimmy Flick is a little bit more game these days than Schnell. Let me just double check here because I believe that Jimmy Flick actually submitted, yes, Cody Durden. It was 5 years ago. And then, that's old. That's an older Cody Durden. And he was able to submit and outbox Matt Schnell. You're getting outboxed by, you're Matt Schnell. Your wrestling's not that great. Your submissions are okay. You're going against, if anything, a guy who at least has good submissions still to this day. That doesn't go away, guys. And if you're telling me right now, Jimmy Flick is 200 and plus 225 in another fight that I think is 50-50 on two guys we can't trust today. I got to go with Jimmy Flick. Because if you give me $100 and you tell me to bet one of these fighters, I'm putting my money on Jimmy Flick because it's 50-50 and the odds are way too big. A couple years ago, on paper, yes, Matt Schnell is better. Should be the more well-rounded fighter. But I don't think he succeeds anywhere that's going to... I don't think he's going to knock out Jimmy Flick. I don't think he's going to out-wrestle him. And if they go to the mat, I'm going to favor Jimmy Flick. So Jimmy Flick is going to be the pick. I haven't got a live dog on this card for y'all yet, and I really don't trust Jimmy Flick to be that guy, but man, it's really looking that way when I see this. So I'm going to go with Flick, y'all. Then we have Ikram Aliskerov versus Andre Muniz. I'm going to take Aliskerov just because I feel like he's a little more dangerous on the feet. I don't really like the cardio of either guy, but if Ikram can keep the fight standing, his wrestling defense is going to be good enough to where Muniz can't get him down. I think he's going to hurt Muniz and probably get a TKO here. But if it goes late, then, it's live for anybody because we don't really know how well Aliskerov's cardio is going to be in that later round. Randy Brown versus Nicholas Dalby. This one was really tough for me as well. I feel like Dalby is so underrated. He keeps winning these kind of fights. He got a split decision. He lost a split decision in his last fight. That was vomit-inducing. He won that fight. If you don't think he won that fight, I don't want you on my page. I don't want nothing to do with you because you're a casual and you don't know what you're talking about. He very well won that fight, and that's just the reality. But I think he was an underdog in that fight too, and Vegas probably wasn't going to allow that. Are they going to allow that here? Well, we're not in Vegas, but who knows who the judges are. The problem is that Randy Brown just seems to be a little bit physically, I think Dalby's going to be a little physically outmatched, if I could get it out. And I don't know how they're going to favor his wrestling, his cage pressure. They favored it in the Brian Battle fight, and he looked really good against Brian Battle, Randy Brown, that is. It's so close, man. It's so tough. My heart really says Dalby, and I really think this is a winnable fight for Dalby, but I'm going to lean Randy Brown. I may flip on this one, guys. I think if you're going to put a little bit of money on this fight, I think that you just put a small play on Dalby because he's the kind of guy that always finds a way to win. And this is a winnable fight for him. But I'm going to lean Brown for the sake of picks, and I'll look more into that one as we go. Abus Magomedov versus Mikael Pereira. Both these guys don't have very good cardio, so it's going to be one of the best first rounds we've seen and one of the worst third rounds we've ever seen. Mikael Pereira, I feel like he's a little more dangerous, so I am going to lead him. Despite the last name on a boost, I don't think he's going to be able to dominate Pereira with any kind of wrestling like we've seen. You know, he did struggle even getting Sean Strickland down. And I think the athleticism is going to be on Pereira's side, obviously, as well. So, you know, as long as, and I don't think he's going to have the cardio. Yeah, I just feel like it looks, you know, if Pereira gets out of the first round or if Magomedov gets out the first round, we don't really know. You might want to look to live bet this one. But I feel like all the edge is going to be in Pereira, so I'll take him. Giga Chikadze versus David Onama. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I mean, I would have never thought these two would be matched up. I don't think David Onama is very good, but I think he keeps getting better. Giga Chikadze is a 36-year-old. He's not that prospect he once was anymore. And, you know, I also believe that Onama was fighting at lightweight for quite a while. So despite the fact that they are around the same height and have the same reach, I'd have to see them on the scales, but I think Onama's going to be a little bit bigger. I don't think a wrestling threat is going to hurt Giga. I think that Onama is a lot more pressure heavy, and he's a lot more active. And Giga kind of sits back and waits. That doesn't look a lot of the times, and that doesn't look good on the scorecard or to the judges. So I'm going to take David Onama. Anthony Smith versus Ming Yang Zhang. On paper, you're definitely going to take Zhang because you believe he's going to knock Smith out. Zhang is a pretty big favorite at minus 530. I don't think that Zhang is worth minus 530. He should be able to tee off on Anthony Smith and get a KO, but just keep in mind, if this goes late, Anthony Smith can definitely wear him out, use his vet savvy, use his cardio, and even get a submission here. So Anthony Smith is a lot more live than a plus 400. So, I mean, I would look to see Anthony Smith third round. Anthony Smith by submission is not crazy, but the safe money is going to be on Zhang, and I do think he can get it done. I don't think Anthony Smith will make it to the third round. But I'm not mad at you if you're looking at that because Zhang is not going to be able to out-grapple Anthony Smith. Definitely, you know, he can out-wrestle him, but wrestling and grappling are different, and Anthony Smith is a pretty good grappler. So I don't think that this is as far apart as the lines suggest, but I do think they're heading in the right direction. Mang should get the finish here. Carlos Prates versus Ian Garry. Prates, he's a way more dangerous striker. He is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's got a couple submissions back in the day on his record. Ian Garry is a guy who we keep seeing improve. This guy went to the brink with Shavkat, and a lot of people said that fight sucked. That fight was awesome. On top of that, it was always going to be a close fight. I saw a lot of casuals out there like, yeah, Shavkat's going to run through him. What are you talking about? This kid is really good, and he's really well-rounded, and that's why I think he wins this fight. I was hoping that Garry would flip to the underdog once the money came in late, but it doesn't look like it's trending that way, unfortunately. If you like Prates here, you think he's more dangerous, you notice that Ian Garry leaves his chin up in the air when he's backing out of these exchanges, then you notice something that is worth putting a little bit of money on Prates here at plus 100. I can see that. But I feel like if Gary's getting hurt in the striking, he can take the wrestling. I think that he's a big guy, man, and I feel like even though Prates has some okay jits, I feel like Gary's is even better. I just feel like Garry has more ways to win the fight, and I feel like he's been a little bit more tested. So I'm going to take Ian Machado Garry. Despite what you think of him, this guy's a good fighter, and he's ever improving. And I feel like if any one of these guys were to be champion tomorrow, it would be Garry because, I just feel like I've seen more out of him. Prates is dangerous, and he could definitely knock Garry out, and I'm not mad at you if you're going that direction. But I have to go with the safer bet, and I feel like it's Ian Garry, and I think the odds makers agree with me. So, yeah, that's it, guys. Let me know who you guys have down below. I got two underdogs on this card that I'm looking at for my live dog of the week. If you've got any ideas, help me out. You know we're on a two fight skid, so hey, I'm reaching out. Let me know if you got anybody or who your favorite is. I would love to hear from y'all. I'm feeling confident in Amorum, I think she's clear. She's a clear cut winner here. Wellmaker should probably get it done. Blackshear might be my lock. I feel good about that. Castaneda at plus 100, he should get through it. Evan Elder, he might be a good parlay piece. You want to be degenerate, you could throw Flick on a parlay. You could even throw Dalby. I mean, I think that those are pretty good underdogs based on what the odds have here. But I don't know for sure about them, man. You know, Zhang, I wouldn't parlay Zhang. Not at these odds. I don't like to parlay anyone over minus 500. But you do you, boo-boo. Okay. Yeah. But Garry, I feel like Garry gets it done. I'm definitely gonna throw Garry in a parlay. Onama, I'm kind of feeling hot on him. And Pereira, man, even though, you know, we don't know how it's gonna look after the second round, I don't think it gets there. I definitely, if I haven't even looked at the odds for the over/under on this, but if it's got an under 2.5, or you can play any kind of, this fight ain't going the distance. I don't believe that at all. So there's some good props here that I'll need to look more into. And you guys know, as usual, I will get all that stuff out to you tomorrow. I will get my live dog of the week out, all that stuff. So stay tuned and we'll see where we go from here. Until then, I appreciate the love, appreciate the hate, appreciate the discourse. Until I see you next time. Let's get paid, y'all.
Paid, y'all. Live dogs in the mix. Live dogs in the mix.